Noelle Dunphy's lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani clocks in at 70 pages, and it is filled with the most disgusting sorts of anecdotes and quotes from her. So we're gonna run through some of this. She says he drank copious amounts of alcohol, took Viagra constantly. He was in fact rarely sober around her. Quote, often demanded that she work naked in a bikini or in short shorts with an American flag on them that he bought for her. He often called her from his bed where he was visibly touching himself under a white sheet. He often demanded oral sex while he took phone calls on speakerphone from high-profile friends and clients, including President Trump. Giuliani told Ms. Dunphy that he enjoyed engaging in this conduct while on the telephone because it made him feel like Bill Clinton. The guy that him and Trump and all of them say was so terrible. It was terrible what he did. They just desperately want to do the things that he did and feel like he felt. They fantasize about acting out the activities of this guy that they say that they're against. But I'm gonna throw one more detail out there before you weigh in, Emma. She says, quote, she says that he said, quote, I think of you as my daughter. And he said this while engaging in sexual contact with her, and then said, is that weird? Yes, I'm not involved in this case. I just want to weigh in and make clear that yes, that is deeply weird, especially since he has a daughter. Not a good relationship with her. We can speculate as to why exactly, and now we have some more data with which to speculate, but Emma, what do you think?
Oh yeah, he also has a strained relationship with one of his sons too. I think in his personal life, it's relevant in this case. He has had multiple wives, he's had affairs, and it seems like he is not the best guy. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that. And it also seems to be contagious between him and his disgusting brother's bromance with Donald Trump, that they have somewhat sexual thoughts about their daughter. And these are the people, the party that is so obsessed with groomers and pedophilia on the left, which they essentially have deemed all LGBTQ people just existing and saying, hey, I exist. That's grooming apparently. So it's all projection, we know this, but when you see the gory details like this, man, does it shine a light on how absurd their posture is on that front?
Yeah, well, actually, why don't we throw a little bit more evidence on the whole grooming thing? So among the women, she describes basically his behavior as grooming, not only with her, but with other people. He generally thought giving jobs and giving promotions was a tool to get sex. She says one of the women that he allegedly groomed was Giuliani Company's communications director, Christiane Allen, who was hired by Giuliani when she was 19. Giuliani allegedly told Dunphy that he hired Allen, who was more than 50 years his junior, because he had, quote, a certain sexual attraction to her. He then allegedly confessed to having kissed her on the lips, though he assured Dunphy that they did not consummate their relationship. And that is just, he's been in public life for decades and decades and decades. These are just allegations. Of course, we have to lay that out repeatedly, but are we supposed to believe that if these allegations are true, that he just started doing this when he was 85? He was the mayor. He had the ability to make or break careers for decades. And this is how he acts. By the way, also, and this is gonna tie back to Noelle Dunphy talked about, being a victim of prior abuse, being emotionally vulnerable because of that. Ms. Dunphy, quote, would come to understand that Giuliani was aroused by discussing Ms. Dunphy's sexual history and violent relationships. That's what she said. He would talk to her about the past times that she had been abused and assaulted because he got off on it. That is the allegation. By the way, some of you might be wondering, well, why then, in this case, why did she continue working for him? Well, she says she continued to work despite being, quote, shocked and saddened by what had happened, because she feared losing the $1 million salary he had promised, as well as free legal representation he had also agreed to give her. So the money was dangled over her head to get her to comply and not report him for any of this. In the end, he apparently paid her $12,000. She is now seeking $10 million in damages, and of course, they've denied it. They had put out statements saying that Giuliani's lifetime of public service speaks for itself. I will leave it to our individual viewers to think back on what they know of Giuliani historically and say what that speaks to when it comes to him. But what do you think?
I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of a more despicable human being just off the top of my head, which means he'll probably live to like 115. He has the Henry Kissinger syndrome or something like that. But there is a real class of powerful people, and they tilt much more towards the Republican side of things, that genuinely want to live their own Mad Men-esque fantasy, where, except for the part, as the story progresses, where the women begin to get liberated and all that kind of thing, but where they are the guys in the room that they're in smoke-filled rooms, they're drinking brown liquor. They're doing whatever they want, and the world is their oyster, and they resent any effort for there to be accountability. And Rudy Giuliani is a prime example of it. They're all swimming in that same toxic pool over there in Trump land.
Exactly. Yeah, and having every reason to believe that will be okay, and in fact, perhaps wanting to get involved in that pool because they know how toxic it is. What they're allowed to get away with.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.